Good morning. Good morning. I'm Greg Smith. No. Oh. Close enough. Can everybody hear? Great. Excellent. Too bad for you. No. No, I hope we have a good lesson this morning. And Miss Jackie is. Okay, Greg, there we go. That's how you can tell I'm not Greg Smith. He's much better at technology about this. Morning, everybody, and this... Please put the first... There we go. Thank you much. I can see that. Okay. Anyway, I'm sorry. Well, let me tell you what. Before you... Anybody who's ever done any public speaking, before you have an opportunity to publicly speak, it's karma. It's, well, Noah, you'll figure this out. It's like something's supposed to happen. I hope it's no distraction, but I mean, my glasses today, apparently, last night I thought glasses make a better pillow, and so, so they're like Whopper jar. Okay, great. Now you're fine. If I can just stay like this, it's all going to be good. How many of us enjoyed Thanksgiving Thursday? Great, lots of hands. Now, that was excellent, and I enjoyed, I watched on Facebook, and people had all sorts of pictures of family events, and that was wonderful. And we had a different Thanksgiving. I can tell you, we had a good Thanksgiving. Georgia Wednesday had some surgery, so we went to Vanderbilt Hospital and found out on Thursday they gave you, Georgia, didn't they bring you some turkey and dressing? I mean, I don't know how much you could taste it when you can't smell anything, but that's okay. She said it was good. But I felt kind of unusual. I thought, I'm not here. I'm supposed to be somewhere else. But I know that was an event. It wasn't a attitude of Thanksgiving. It was an event that I was missing. What does Thanksgiving require? If I ask you, what does Thanksgiving require? Okay. Turkey. Turkey is a good one. That's good. I like turkey or ham. Some people are into ham. If you're gonna invite me over for Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving requires sweet potatoes. It's part of the program. You got to have it. I used to preach at this little church in Warren County, and man, those ladies could make sweet potatoes 20 different ways. It was just fantastic. That's how they paid us. Anyway, apparently that's what I was worth. They said, here's a sweet potato, go away. Anyway, those are things we think about that are required. And then there's the day. It's got to be on Thursday. So, that's what I was thinking of. One of the things I thought about, though, in preparing for this morning, the attitude of Thanksgiving, the quality of Thanksgiving. And we need to have Thanksgiving, not an event. Just like we were talking about this morning, Kent did a great job this morning, and reading from Romans 12, talking about we're the body. This event today is an act. It's part of worship, but this event today is not church. This event today is an evidence of church. We're church. We're church here. We're church when we leave. We're the body of Christ. So when I think about Thanksgiving, it's easy for me to focus on an event where I get together with my family and extended family. And we did that Saturday, by the way. I'm not, I know you look at me and think he's wasting away to nothingness, but I did enjoy lots and lots and lots of good food. We did that Saturday. But I was thinking about, as far as an attitude of Thanksgiving, what is required? And I would suggest, hey, look at that. I would suggest an attitude of Thanksgiving requires three things. First of all, it requires us to remember. And remember three things. It requires us to remember where you are, where you're going. Okay, Thanksgiving requires us to remember where you're from, where you are, where you're going. love the Old Testament. One of the things I remember about the Old Testament, and you all remember back, the book of Genesis brings us from creation to the time that the children of Israel are going into Egypt after Joseph, by providence, has been where he was supposed to be, and he helped save the Egyptian people from famine, and he helped by that prophetic being in the right, being where God wanted him to be. He saved Israel from that famine, and Israel goes down into Egypt. The very next book is Exodus, and do we remember what happened? By the time we get to Exodus, things have politically changed in Egypt, and the children of Israel are no longer, you might say, guests. Let's look. Hey, there we go. Remember where you are from. Exodus chapter 1, verse 8 through 14. Then a new king, to whom Joseph meant nothing. Let's think about that. Who was Joseph? Joseph was an Israelite. Joseph was the one that said, hey, famine is coming, we better store up. And because of that, they stored up food. They had enough food to save save Egypt and to save the children of Israel. And then, look at this. The new king came, to whom Joseph meant nothing. Be careful. Remember where you're from. Let me tell you, if I ever do this, remember there's 4 fingers coming back towards me. Remember, Jeff, where you're from. When you say, let me tell you about the situation I'm in. Remember that, things can change. There was a new king to whom Joseph meant nothing. He came to power in Egypt. Look, he said to his people, the Israelites have become far too numerous for us. Come, we must deal shrewdly with them, or they will become even more numerous and war break against us and leave this country. Look at this. So they put slave masters over them to oppress them with forced labor and worked them ruthlessly. They made their lives bitter with harsh labor. The Egyptians worked them ruthlessly. That doesn't sound like anywhere I want to go. Where are we going to go on vacation this year, honey? Well, let's go to Daytona Beach. Let's go to Bahamas. Let's go to, Miami Beach. Let's go to somewhere we're going to work us ruthlessly, make our lives bitter. No, not quite what I had in mind. This is where the Israelites came from. Excellent. And then in Exodus chapter 2, verse 23, during that long period, now that long period, when they're talking about the long period, after we read in Exodus 1, then we talked about the time that Moses was born. And remember, right around the time that Moses was born, what is happening? The Egyptians have said, these Israelites are just, they're like rabbits. They're just producing more and more and more. They're getting so numerous. And so what we need to do is just throw the babies into the Nile River, kill all the babies. And they began that process. This long period, then Moses came along. Moses is found in the river. He's raised up in Pharaoh's house. He's run out, and he lives in Midian. This is a period of time that has gone by. All that time, what's happening with the Israelite people? They're being treated ruthlessly. They had slave masters over them. During that long period, the king of Egypt died. The Israelites groaned in their slavery. And they cried out, and their cry for help because of their slavery was heard by God. God heard their groaning. Okay, where were they from? They're from a bad place, don't you think? When they look back, when the Israelite people look back, hey, let's finally remember what? Let's finally remember slavery. Yeah. Has anybody, well, that's a silly question. I was about to say, has anybody been through economically difficult times? Let me suggest to you that if you're living and breathing and over 5 or 6 years old, you've had economically good times and you've had economically tough times. We've all, that's just part of life. And do you ever look back and think, boy, I remember finally the days that we couldn't figure out how to make the mortgage payment? No, nobody looks back finally. Yeah, I remember when somebody, when I got that terrible diagnosis. I remember when some tragic thing happened in life. No. Now, the Israelite people looked back and they thought, this is the time we groaned. and we had those ruthless slave masters over us, to be in an attitude of thanksgiving, remember where you came from. Because I'm sure, remember what happened later on in Exodus. Moses came along and the plagues and all the ways that God showed himself to be superior to the Egyptian gods, and superior in how he made known to Egyptians and to Israelites that he was Jehovah God. And I know from that point on, we all know the story, that they were thankful and they always obeyed God after that, right? Okay, wrong. Let's go on. Okay, good. Sometimes it works. It's incredible. That's because Georgia helped me last night. And I had this lady, Georgia said, that doesn't look good at all. Anyway, okay, follow with me. They get into the desert. Remember, God saves them, draws them out, saves them from the Israelites. They have just watched the Egyptian army, which is probably top of the line army in the world. They have just watched them just be sucked up by the Red Sea after God walked the Israelites through on dry ground. They have seen all this with their eyes. They didn't read about it in a great book. They saw it with their eyes. And so they're out in the desert. And they said, praise God, he's going to take care of us. No. Exodus 13, verse 2 and 3. You need to remember where you're from. In the desert, the whole community grumbled against Moses and Aaron. Who were Moses and Aaron? God's prophets, God's spokespeople. They grumbled against God. They grumbled against Moses and Aaron. The Israelites said, if only we had died by the Lord's hands in Egypt. There we sat around pots of meat and ate all the food we wanted. I never was good with reading. Let me go back. So they put slave masters over them and oppressed them with forced labor. They dealt ruthlessly. The Israelites groaned. That doesn't sound like Thanksgiving dinner. The Israelites said, oh, I wish we would have died in Egypt where we sat around pots of meat and just enjoyed ourselves. In Numbers 16, now Greg talked about this a few weeks ago, and when I read it back and studied it, I promise, if you will continue reading the Bible, every now and then you'll read a verse that you've read 100 times, and you'll say, oh, wow. I never noticed that. I never noticed this till I was reading it again, what Greg talked about in Numbers 16. Then Moses summoned Dathan and Abiram, anyway, the sons of Eliab, who said, we will not come. Verse 13, isn't it enough that you brought us out of a land flowing with milk and honey to kill us in the wilderness? I never noticed that till I read it. Do you realize that by this time, they're thinking that the land that flows with milk and honey is Egypt? To be thankful, remember where you're from. Sometimes the life that we left before Christ wasn't that great. Don't look back on it and think, boy, wasn't I wonderful then? And I've just got to, suffer and groan through this life with Christ until he relieves me again. No. Remember where you're from, a requirement for Thanksgiving. Remember where you are. Look at there. Jesus talked to his children in John chapter 8. Remember where you are. Where you're from, where you are. In John chapter 8 he said, but he continued, you are from below, I am from above, you are of this world. I am not of this world. It's really important, I'll tell you what, it's really important for Jeff to know that. And if I say that and anybody can relate, that's wonderful. It's really important for me to know that what I see around me, what I can feel and touch and see, is not who I am. It's temporary. It is not. It's not all that it's about. I don't know. I'm trying to think of some way to say that. This is not my goal. Okay. I struggle with things, and the advantage of being the temporary, the fill-in preacher is, you're firing me at any time. That's fine. In fact, I tell you what, I give the elders an opportunity. Cut my wage in half. Anyway, church, I can tell you, I struggle with things. The reason I struggle with things is because it is difficult for me to remember that the life that I'm living in, the temporary here and now, is not everything. All I can see is what's in front of me, and sometimes I think, this is it. No, this is not it. Got to remember where I'm from, where I am now. Jesus said, I am above, you are of this world, I am not of this world. I struggle with things. I struggle with anxiety, and then I remember that Jesus said, don't worry about what you'll eat or what you'll wear. The pagans worry about those things. God takes care of the lilies of the field. He takes care of the birds of the air. You're even greater than that. I struggle with those things. Jesus in chapter 18 of John, verse 36, he said, my kingdom is not of this world. It is. I struggle with remembering that as much as I love Clarksville Highway family, as much as I love being with you, there's more. This is not it. Where I am is wonderful, but this is not all. My kingdom is not of this world. If it were, my servants would fight and prevent the Jews from arresting me. This is Jesus when he's talking to Herod. In Colossians chapter 2, verse 20, since you died with Christ to the elemental spiritual forces of this world, why, as though you still belong to this world, do you submit to these rules? We don't belong to this world anymore. Why would I submit myself to the same old anxieties and fears and heartbreaks and hang-ups? I'm not of this world anymore. Remember where you are. Remember where you are in the book of Ephesians. This is not a political statement, but remember that there are thousands of people that would like to, for example, we live in the United States. Thank you very much, Jesus, that I am able to live in the United States. Not that, we're not perfect, but I'm glad we're here. There are thousands of people that would like to be here. There are thousands of people that are right on the other side of a border that would really like to be here. And they can't because there are regulations and there are rules and there are statutes about things like that. This is what the Bible said in Ephesians 2, verse 19. Consequently, you are no longer foreigners and strangers. There are places where I would go today that I'd be a foreigner and a stranger. He said, you are no longer foreigners and strangers. Where did we come from? Jesus was a Jew, was born and raised and died in Jewish culture. That would not be somewhere we could just walk in. We couldn't go to the temple. Clarksville Highway has an open door that's beautiful. We couldn't go to the temple and say, hey, I'm not a Jew, but let me be part of it. We were strangers. We're not now. We are no longer foreigners and strangers, but fellow citizens with God's people, also members of his household, built on the foundation of the apostles and prophets, with Christ Jesus himself as the chief cornerstone. In him, the whole building is joined together and rises to become a holy temple in the Lord. And in him, you too are being built together to become a dwelling in which God lives by his Spirit. Remember where you're from. Remember where you are. We are citizens. We're family. I think that's special. And remember where you are. Please? Okay. Okay. Hey, I did it. Yay. Remember now. Remember where you're going. I apologize. Remember where you're from. Remember where you are. Remember where you're going. Remember that this is not all. This is not the end game. You're going somewhere else. There are people here a few months ago that graduated from high school. That's a fantastic event. There's more to come. All of us, Georgia's in school, doing great. And I don't understand. I mean, I want some genetic testing. She attends school, enjoys it, seeming to enjoy her homework. I want genetic testing. I'm really not sure. I think maybe somebody switched her at birth. But anyway, I know. But she understands that as much as you enjoy school, more to come. There's even more. You know, you think about the commercials. Whenever the infomercials we have, but wait, there's more. That's exactly right. There is more. Think about, this is not, remember where we are going. Where we've been, where we are, where we're going. In John chapter 14, the disciples have heard Jesus talk about, I'm going to leave, I'm going to be sacrificed, and this concerned them. And he said, love these passages. Love John chapter 14. He said, do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. My Father's house has many rooms. Hey, there's still a place for you. My Father's house has many rooms. If that were not so, would I have told you that I'm going there to prepare a place for you? And if I go to prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you also may be where I am. You know the way to the place where I'm going. Remember where we're headed. I love this family. I love many aspects about being here. This is not all, but wait, there's more. Jesus said, I've gone to prepare a place for you, and if I go to prepare a place for you, I'm coming back for you. Remember where we're going. Thank you. Thank you. Remember this, and think about where we're going. Where we're going. Well, I've never been there. I don't understand, but one of the things I read that is Revelations 21, verse 1. Then I saw, beginning verse 1, then I saw a new heaven, a new earth. For the first earth had passed away. There was no longer any sea. I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down from heaven, prepared as a bride, beautifully dressed for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, look, God's dwelling place is now among the people. As much as I love this church, think about a time God's dwelling place will be among us. He will be us. And he will dwell with them. They will be his people. God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the older things have passed away. There's a lot of things we had Thanksgiving. We had time with our family. There are things that we enjoy, but there's even more to come. That we live in a broken world. Things happen. Tragedies happen. Pain will occur. Not might occur, will occur. There's been losses in our family. I know in the church family there's been losses. There's pain, there's sorrow. But we're going somewhere where there's no tears, no mourning. God will be there. Think about a world where not only God has influence, but the devil is not existent. Where there is no God, there is no devil. Conversely, think about a place where there is no God. Where you are going. Next. To be thankful. Remember where you're from, where you are, where you're going. Where you're from, where you are, where you're going. Now, if you're here, you're a Christian, you think, where I'm from? Well, I'm from sin, and I left that. I left the old man. I repented for my sins. I was baptized. I was buried and raised anew. Excellent. Where you are, I'm with Christ. I'm walking in the light as He is in the light. I err and I sin and I ask forgiveness, and I know that He continually forgives me. And where I'm going to that place where there's a new heaven and a new earth, and God will physically be there with us. I don't understand, but it's going to be fantastic, and I look forward to that. And I want you to be thankful for that, just as much as we're in a Thanksgiving meal a few days ago. I want you to be in an attitude of thanksgiving. If you're not a Christian, where am I? Well, I am in the world. And where am I Where have I been? I've been in the world. Where am I now? Well, I'm still in the world. And where am I going? Well, the earth is going to be gone. When God comes back in that new Jerusalem, I want to be with him. And Jesus said in the book of John, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the light. There's no other way to the Father but by me. If you're here and you're a Christian, lead a life of thanksgiving every day, not just on Turkey Day. If you're here and you're not a Christian, change that right now. If I can help you in any way, please respond as we stand and sing.